welcome back to my doll collecting channel. Have you ever wondered if those BuzzFeed articles are true? That your American Girl doll could be worth thousands of dollars? Even though I think those situations are quite rare, there is some instances where your American Girl could be worth that much. But I've been a doll collector for many years, so I thought I would make this video kind of dispelling some of the myths I see about how valuable American Girls can actually be. But like any situation, this is a broad YouTube video, so I'm not going to be able to get into the specifics of everything, and also things can change overnight. So it could even be a month from the release of this video and a new doll suddenly becomes so popular. If you only take one thing from this video, please let it be the next thing that I'm going to tell you, because I see a lot of confusion when it comes around to this thing that I'm about to share. A lot of people who aren't avid collectors of American Girl or know a lot about American Girl is that the character that you have is huge in determining the value of that American Girl. If you're unsure about the different types of American Girl characters, make sure to go watch one of my newer videos, just titled What I Wish I Had Known Before I Bought an American Girl Doll, or watch this before buying an American Girl doll, because I talk about all the different types of American Girl dolls, because people don't realize that there's different kinds. For example, there's historical characters, there's Girl of the Years, there's Biddy Babies, there's Welly Wishers, there's World by Us, there's so many different types of American Girl characters, and depending on what line your doll is from, greatly determines the value. One thing that is huge in determining how valuable your American Girl doll is the doll retired? Now, retired means that a doll is discontinued, but the proper name in the American Girl collecting community and from American Girl is retired. So if a doll is retired, it means it's discontinued. If a doll is discontinued, it means you can only buy it secondhand on places like eBay. Just because a doll is retired doesn't mean it's more valuable. My biggest tip, if you're purely buying American Girls to resell them in the future, then I would buy characters that people are not talking about. The characters that are not as popular. Because the characters that are more popular, more people will buy them, and therefore there will be more on the secondhand market in a few years. So it's important that you're buying the dolls that less people want. The best example I can give of this is from the American Girl Contemporary line from 2017. There was a few characters that were released in this line, and the two big ones were Tenny and Z. Now, Tenny was a musician and was extremely popular amongst regular people, not so much fans. And Tenny is not without controversy, but that's a topic for a different video. However, Z was a different character, and she was a YouTuber, and she was less popular, meaning that less people bought her. And now that both dolls are retired, you can find a whole bunch of Tennys on eBay and Facebook Marketplace, but you can't find a lot of Zs, increasing Z's value, because Tenny was the more popular character. So the people who bought Z, your doll is more valuable than Tenny, even though they were around for approximately the same amount of time. And that leads into my next point. So if a doll was around for a limited time, that can also affect its value. For example, Z was only around for about a year, which also increases her value because she is a less popular character and she was around for a shorter period of time, so less people were able to get her. This also applies to dolls like Cecile. So Cecile and Murray Grace were characters that were released in 2011. They retired in either 2013 or 2014. They were around for 2 or 3-ish years. But Murray Grace was the more popular character, and you can easily find her for a better price on eBay, but Cecile's are harder to find because she was around for a shorter period of time and she wasn't as popular as Murray Grace. Now, Murray Grace isn't necessarily easy to find. She is more valuable than other dolls, but she's not as valuable as Cecile. And because of that, based on those two examples, and there's many examples of this, but I highly predict that the World by Us collection by American Girl, because it's not as popular as other lines from American Girl, and it is starting to retire, I highly recommend getting those dolls now because they're going to be quite expensive on the secondhand market. They have not been very popular their entire time that they've been released, and they were starting to retire them when the line was just started in 2021. So they've been around for a little over 2 years. The key thing is less popular equals harder to find equals more valuable. or the more money people are willing to pay for that doll. However, this doesn't apply to every doll. For example, I have a Just Like You 20 who is really hard to find. However, she's not really in that much demand, so therefore she's not as valuable. However, demand is key. It doesn't matter if a doll has been around for a long time. If people really want that doll, then they're going to pay for that doll. An example of this is Just Like You 4. Just Like You 4 was around for many years. And it wasn't until she retired and for some reason a few years ago, she suddenly became super popular on the secondhand market. And she can even cost around $400. Even though this doll was around for a long time, she's not necessarily rare. For some reason, she just exploded in popularity in recent years. Probably because she's the only doll with the number 4 face mold. Of the year dolls are super rare because they only existed for 1 year. This is not necessarily true. Now, it is a side point, but Girl of the Year dolls back in the day only existed from January 1st to December 31st of their year. However, in recent years, American Girl has been keeping older girl years on their website for much longer, usually around 2 or 3 years. But again, it goes back to demand. If a character is more popular, then they're more valuable. However, characters like McKenna, Sage, and Isabel are so common on eBay that they don't really demand a lot of money. However, other characters like Grace are fairly popular, and they were popular before, and there is a fair amount of them on eBay. However, they can charge a little bit more because she is fairly popular due to Olivia Rodrigo playing her in the American Girl movie a few years ago, and now Olivia Rodrigo is really popular, so a few of the prices have spiked a little bit due to this newfound interest in Grace. But also, Grace is a very good girl of the year. She's one of my favorites, so that might not be the only reason, but recently Grace is one of the more expensive girl years to find. However, older dolls like Marisol or Nikki, so Marisol was from 2005, Nikki was 2007, so the older dolls, they can command a little bit more money, especially if they're in good condition, because they're harder to find because they're older and things break, things get lost, all that craziness. Good combination is an older doll that is less popular and has suddenly become really popular in recent years. An example of this was Sonali, which was not the Girl of the Year for 2009, but the best friend of the Girl of the Year 2009. So she was a side character, but she has become more popular recently, and there's been more of a demand for her because she is the originator of the Sonali face mold, but also she is absolutely stunning and gorgeous, so I can see why people would want this doll. But this is an example of a less popular doll being around for a limited time, which has led to her being more valuable. My doll says Pleasant Company, and that means she's worth thousands of dollars. This is another myth I see all the time, especially when it comes to those news articles. To clear up a little bit of confusion, and I have mentioned this on my channel before, especially in the things I wish I had known before buying American Girl video, I talk about how American Girl was originally owned by a company called Pleasant Company, and the dolls on the back of their neck said Pleasant Company. However, the new dolls say American Girl, or most of them do. However, there is a period of time of transitional dolls, which means when Mattel bought the company in the late 90s, they just reused the heads they already made and put it on dolls and continued to sell it with the Pleasant Company stamp on the back of the neck. But also for many years after this, for example, Kaya dolls have Pleasant Company stamped on the back of their neck for years, even though it wasn't Pleasant Company anymore. So just because a doll says Pleasant Company on the back of the neck doesn't necessarily mean that it's more valuable or it's an older doll or was around when the company was Pleasant Company. However, that being said, if it does say Pleasant Company, it's still an American Girl doll, so it's still valuable. But don't get your hopes up. Your Pleasant Company doll is not gonna fund your retirement or your child's college fund. They aren't that valuable. Even if your American Girl was worth thousands of dollars, it costs thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go to college. So I don't think a single doll would pay for it. The key thing is that condition plays a huge role in the value of your American Girl. For example, if you have a curly haired doll and it's just a giant mess, then it's not going to be worth much because somebody has to go through a lot of work of fixing it or taking the wig off and putting a new one on. So that decreases the value. Also, if your doll has scratches on its nose or its face or the lip paint is fading, also makes it less valuable. Also, some things that you can't control, like sometimes the certain batches of vinyl turn green or orange with time, decreases the value. And there's literally nothing you can do to prevent that. Now that being said, if your doll is in not very good condition, it still could have some value and you could resell it. So if it's a super valuable character like a Z or a Sonali or a Cecile, like the dolls that I mentioned before, even if she's in rough shape, you could still get some money for her. For Cecile, for example, if her hair is a mess and she's not in the best condition, you could still probably get $100 for her. But you're just not gonna get the $200, $300, or $400 that you would get if she was in perfect condition with all of her accessories. So it might be still worth trying to list that American Girl, even if she's not in the best condition, because there's a lot of people who customize dolls to change them or try to fix them up. If you want super specific details, I highly recommend looking at my friend's YouTube channel, I Dream of Johnny. He is like a Pleasant Company expert and he knows so much about the different Pleasant Company dolls and their value. So if you want super detailed videos about Pleasant Company and the value that they have, please go check out his channel. Now, one type of doll could be worth thousands of dollars. And let me explain what that doll is. And that type of doll is a white body doll. You're probably looking at me like, what? Most American Girls, most of them, have tan bodies, which means their body, the soft part of their body, matches the limbs in their head. However, with the original American Girl dolls, they had white bodies. And white body dolls are only found on the original 3 characters, which are Kirsten, Samantha, and Molly. Those are the only 3 dolls that will ever have a white body. And it is because in 1991, with the release of Felicity, they changed it to a tan body. And let me reiterate, the only dolls that will have a white body are Kirsten, Samantha, and Molly. You will never see an Addie, for example, with a white body, which I have seen somebody try to sell a white body Addie on eBay. But be very careful because there's a lot of fakes out there. A lot of people can dye the color of the torso to make it look white when really it's not an official first edition American Girl. However, if you have a white body doll and she has spots all over her white body, or she has a haircut, or all these things, if she's not in that great condition, she could still be worth some money because people, like I mentioned before, I Dream of Johnny, can fix them. But it's a lot of work, so that decreases the value. Now, if you have a white body doll that's in fairly good condition, without accessories, without anything, but she's, clean for the most part, and her hair isn't cut, she could be worth $300, $350. She could still be worth a fair amount of money. And that value goes up if you have her original outfits and original clothing. However, this gets into the dolls that might be worth thousands category. And this is a big if, but if a doll was worth thousands of dollars, it would be the ones that I'm about to list. So if you have a signed doll, so a signed white body doll. So when Pleasant Company was around, it was owned by Pleasant Rowland, and Rowland would sign dolls and people would, bring it to events and things like that, and she would sign the bodies of the dolls. Or sometimes they would have special events or something like that. And anyways, there's these dolls that are signed with her signature floating around, and those dolls are quite valuable. And those dolls people would bring to events and she would sign them. However, there's another type of signed doll which is even more valuable than that. And that is dolls that are signed and numbered. So these were special promotions they did if you bought a certain doll for a certain reason. Let's say they signed 1,000 dolls. I don't know if they did. I don't know the exact specific numbers. But if they, and you have a Samantha signed Pleasant Rowland and it has 182 on it, that's worth a lot of money and worth more than a signed doll that somebody just went up to Pleasant Rally and she signed, because she signed these ones intentionally. And it gets more valuable the closer you get to like one, like I'm assuming the doll that's like, you know, signed number 1 is hugely valuable, I'm assuming. I hear people talking about all the time that they want the double digits, so like even if a doll is like 86 or something like that, that would be super valuable because most people have them in the higher hundreds numbers. And the closer it gets to 1, it's more valuable. And that's where it gets to the point where it could be worth thousands of dollars if you have a doll that's in good condition, signed, numbered, and with her original accessories. So that is one of the reasons when you see those BuzzFeed articles or those are news articles talking about how valuable a certain American Girl could be, those are the ones that they're talking about, which are super hard to find, but definitely possible. So definitely check that if you found an American Girl. See if it's white-bodied, signed, numbered, and has some of the original accessories. So that has been my advice for identifying how valuable your American Girl doll could be. Now this doesn't cover everything because there are so many dolls from American Girl. There's so many outliers. There's so many different reasons why a certain doll is more valuable, even if it's the same character. Sometimes certain defects are more valuable than others. So even if you have a doll that is not a character, that doesn't have a white body, doesn't have all the things that I mentioned in this video, you could still, if she's in good condition, sell her for around $50. If you like this video, if you want more doll collecting advice, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you. Oh, and also if you're watching this before December 22nd, make sure to vote for me in the Sparkle Awards. I'll have that link in the description box below. I've been nominated for Most Well-Researched and Best Non-American Collector. So if you vote for me in the Sparkle Awards, I would be so happy. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.